My name is Halina. I've been podcasting for about 12 years now, which is I came from a acoustics recording background and went into media. So I've worked with quite a few people. I'm currently producing a podcast for a few people. The most recent ones for the BBC. I'm doing a magazine series. I guess what I'd like to kind of start off with is the importance of, well, I guess your ideas. First of all, is what idea do you have that you want to podcast about? So I'm just going to share my screen for a moment, and I'm just going to share it intermittently when we go through each section of the podcast, and I'll just do that just now. I'll just shrink this bit up here. So first of all, it's choosing your podcast format. So you can be a single host, it can be scripted stories or interviews. I would say choose a format that fits what your podcast is about and something that you're comfortable with. Your podcast should be as long as it needs to be without being any longer. And I know that can sound a bit kind of ambiguous, but what I would say to you is that there is no real kind of right or wrong when it comes to length. Generally, I would think, what I always say to everyone is think about your consuming habits. When you consume podcasts, how long, what type of podcasts? And you'll tend to find that there's a certain kind of length or format depending on what it is you're interested in. Generally, I guess true crime is a massive one for a lot of people. I'm absolutely addicted to it because it's something outside of what I do when it comes to media and music. So I kind of lap it up quite a bit. And you'll find that, like, for example, a dramatized or a serial true crime podcast, anything like that, you're looking at about 30 minutes onwards. Generally, they kind of go up to about 40 minutes, sometimes an hour maximum. So magazine formats, they tend to go from about 30 to 45 minutes maximum. But then also you've got podcasts that give information. So, for example, I sometimes listen to some tech podcasts, or I'll listen to science podcasts or general information. And some of them can be actually like 5 minutes long, which is quite hard to believe. But there's a marketing podcast that I listen to sometimes, and it gives you like a daily tip, and it's 5 minutes long. And they've actually managed to create something pretty huge because it's like short bites every day. This is a typical running order. Now, running orders, obviously your date and location. This might be a bit kind of bitty, but I'll just go through it. So you've generally got, this is for a typical magazine format, but you can take this format and apply it to most podcasts. You've got your item numbers down the side here, your item titles, your duration of your items, your timestamps, and the details. So, for example, pre-titles, this might be sometimes when you listen to a podcast, it might just open up with a bit of chat. So someone just saying something funny, or a casual kind of remark or anything like that. Maybe a soundbite, and that can just kick off a podcast. The great thing about podcasts is that they're so informal. It's not like a radio or a TV show, and that's why they've become so popular. You don't have to stick to a strict aspect in terms of structure or compliance. Well, sometimes with compliance, I certainly do with compliance, depending on who you're doing your podcast for. But generally, censorship is not an issue, and so on. Titles. So, for example, you might have a menu within your podcast. So you might have different items within your podcast, and you could maybe start off with, on this week's podcast is we spoke to such and such, we explore this area, and we visit such and such. it's just like literally your menu items of what to expect on the rest of the podcast. And you might choose to kind of have music in at that point. You might choose to have a different voice. You might choose to have sound effects. So next to that, I've obviously, so the duration, I've put like 30 seconds here, 40 seconds here. Your timestamp is quite important, and that's because of editing. So when it comes to editing, it means that you can keep yourself in check. So for example, if your podcast is about 40 minutes, you are editing each section down to the duration and to the timestamp that you would need. And it makes things so much easier. And for those of you who are new to editing or about to embark on it, then this will be a bit like a Bible for you, if I'm honest. Music sting. So this might be, you can use music stings to break up sections. I'll give you some examples of where to find music that you can potentially use, because music licensing is quite a big topic in terms of what you can and can't use. It's a really complex area. So the great thing about music stings is they offer texture. They can keep your listener quite engaged. For example, if you have a feature that's quite long, and you're, instead of having the same voice throughout, and you bring a music sting in, you're kind of almost re-engaging your listener again, which is quite good. And yeah, so you can kind of, this is a typical format of how you can kind of structure a podcast. Outro, so that could be like your goodbyes. Credits, so this, you might hear this a lot in podcasts, and that would be, you know, this podcast was produced and edited by such and such. It was from such and such studios. Music was composed by, and so on. So this, I'll obviously include this and send this to you. Another really important thing is if you're going to do a series of podcasts. So say, for example, you are going to do a batch of them, and you want to, but you kind of want to take a break. You don't want to do it continuously, which can be, it can be quite exhausting if you're doing them all the time. By doing a series, it means that you can kind of set an expectation, and people know that you're potentially going to take a break, or you might want to theme the series. You might want to do one theme for one series and move on to a different theme for the next. You might just want to do a one-off. You might just want to do a few podcasts just for you know, just for one project. What I do is I tend to create a table. So this, I'm just going to separate this just to make it a bit more. So for example, if I was doing a series of 10 podcasts, and I was wanting to kind of plan out, I put in my record dates, and when you're working with other people, this can change. I put in my edit dates as well, just so that I'm actually setting myself a timetable, and then the publish date. So the good thing about publishing is that what I tend to say to people is try and have 2 or 3 podcasts recorded before you start advertising them. And it just means that, say something comes up, or you've got a break, or you didn't realize how exhaustive podcasting is, then you've kind of given yourself more time, and you can schedule them ahead of time. And you can kind of set a timetable. So for example, if you want to do them weekly, you can do that. You can plan your guests out as well, so that you're looking across the whole series. So if you want to make things a bit more diverse, or you want to make sure that you're not considering the same guest and so on, So this is just a very basic idea, but I would say the table is really important if you're doing a kind of a batch of podcasts, just in terms of planning. So this is Audacity. It's you can just I'll include the web link. You can download it for Windows, Mac, whatever. And it's as I say, it's pretty straightforward. Along here, you've got your just your control panel with your pause, play, stop, skip back, forward, and record. The record button is quite important if you are perhaps using a USB mic. You can plug straight in here. I'm going to hit record just now. And while I'm speaking, you can see that my audio is going straight in. So for the purposes of recording a podcast, and if you're going to actually just want to record from your USB, or from, even if you wanted to do it from your headphones into your computer, you can do it straight away with program like, well, any platform that you're recording on, but that's how you would do it on Audacity. This is obviously where your tracks are going to be lined up. So for example, I'm just going to go through the rest of the panels. This is your selection tool. So this is how you select your audio. I realize I'm going through this quite quickly, but again, I'll be providing you with more kind of information so that you can actually sit down and go through this. And you can do things like, for example, if this space here, you can just cut it, and so on. You can, there's different functions. So you can either press delete on your keyboard, you can go to edit and delete, and it's got different aspects. You've got the cut function up here. There's different ways that you can kind of maneuver around Audacity as well. The envelope tool is here. I'm going to actually go through that in just a moment. Draw, I don't really think that I'm going to go, I don't feel that you need that at the moment. Time shift is, so time shift means that you can actually just move the whatever audio wherever you want it to be on your timeline, which is really handy, because what will happen is that sometimes when you drag another piece of audio, it can immediately bring it to the start, whereas if you if you want to move that up and down, you can do so quite easily. Audacity, I have to say, is quite a clunky platform, but if you're beginning and you want something, as I say, cost effective, then it's really good. I'm actually quite amazed that you can get this for free. You can zoom in, so if you want to zoom in on your timeline and have a look, then you can do so, and zoom out. And when you get to a certain level of audio editing, you can actually start to identify the sound waves where people say I now know what an looks like on a sound wave, which is quite sad, but it's something that is really important to kind of maybe cut out, but I'll talk about and ahs afterwards. And so yeah, that's the kind of basic functions of this. Here is where you kind of go in your so if you've got any microphones that you're plugging in, they will come up on this menu here, and that's how, and any output. So if you're going through a different speaker or system, then you can do it through that as well. You can select. So I'm going to, I've got this as my speech here. And say I want to put in a music intro. I'm going to move my speech up here. I'm going to just select, and then what I'm going to do is this is music. So I'm just going to bring this music in here and say that I want to have a music intro. I'm going to just drag that in. I'm going to cut. Let's have a look. I'm going to select the rest of this and I'm going to cut this out. And here, this is as basic as you can get. You've then got your music intro and going into your speech, and it's as simple as that. Another thing is a music bed. So this is quite a popular thing that people want to do. They want to have their speech, but they want to have music underneath the spoken audio. So one of the things, this is where your envelope tool comes in. So this is your envelope tool. What you can do is you can select these 2 points and you just literally drag this down, so that what happens is when your speech comes in, your music fades out and then it fades back in again. And that's another kind of really very quick way of showing you how to edit on that. If you want to save this, I'm just going to split this here so it's not let's just cut this out. If you want to say, for example, this is your podcast, you've edited it and it's good to go, then you literally go to File, Save. You want to export as an MP3 if you've finished your podcast. Mastering is quite an important thing, and I'll talk about mastering in a bit. But say, for example, this is your finished MP3, you export as an MP3. We'll just put test and we'll save it on our desktop. And literally, it's I'm not going to go into, this is metadata, which is more for things like music, so I won't kind of go into that. But literally, that is your MP3 of your audio, your spoken audio, and yeah. So this is Audacity. This isn't a trial. I've just had to quickly load it onto a different computer. So you've got your different channels down here. You can rename your tracks. So you could put host in there, music, and so on. Whatever your connection is in here, you can put in whatever microphones and so on. For example, let's bring in the music in here. What you'll see is this automatically brings it the levels down and positions them in a way that they feel, well, that the program feels is kind of suitable. It's a really straightforward program. One of the things as well is that, see if I showed you the envelope tool on Audacity in terms of reducing music. In here, this is how you do it. It is so simple. I mean, I'm editing probably about 12 to 16 hours, potentially more, sometimes a week, actually more than that. And when you want a program that is kind of really quite swift. So this cost me £70, but I've had this, excuse me, I've had Hindenburg now for about 4 years, and it's reduced my time in terms of editing immeasurably. And when you divide that cost over the amount of time, it's unbelievable how much it is. It's just been fantastic. The other things is that you can do this on Audacity as well. You solo, so say for example you've got 8 tracks on here, so you've got 8 different parts to your podcast, but you don't want to go through and mute them all. You just solo your channels. That's like any sound program that you would have. And one of the things that I didn't say on Audacity that I should say as well is the meter and peaking. So I'm just going to hit play on the music. I'm going to just pull this up. So you'll see here, it's hitting -3 decibels at the moment. If I go louder, it's peaking. You do not want your audio to peak, because what will happen is that the sound will just be completely distorted, and it just sounds terrible. The other thing that you want to do is to ensure that all your tracks, you're keeping them all the same level. So for example, say that I've got my music here and it's hitting -12. I want my audio here to hit around the same level. One of the most important things for that is that, say for example, I'm going to stop sharing just for now. Have you ever noticed when you're walking down the street and you're listening to something, say in headphones, or you're sat listening to something, and you either have to turn it down or turn it up? So say for example, the music comes and it's too loud, or the speech comes and it's too quiet. So what will happen is that it becomes quite annoying for a lot of people. One tip I will say to you is that once you've finished your podcast, try and put it onto a phone or whatever you want to put it on, and go outside and walk and listen to your podcast. And you'll identify and make sure that everything sounds quite level between the speech and any other sounds that you're using, and between the different voices as well. There's times when I've been walking and it's been quite heavy on traffic, and I've had to turn the sound up, whereas you don't really kind of want to do that. I understand if you're probably in the middle of Glasgow and there's like a ton of traffic and noise and so on, that it's inevitable you might want to turn your volume up, but you do want to make sure that everything is quite level. Is Hindenburg aimed specifically at podcasting? It's actually broadcasting, podcasting. A lot of people are now using it for audio dramas as well, but most people I know use it for podcasting. So yeah, and I would sign up for their, if you can, sign up for their mail outs. They give fantastic tutorials, not just for Hindenburg, but for podcasting in general. And also they will give you discounts if they're on any software that they do as well. And I'm not endorsed by them. I just have to make that very clear. So that's just a kind of really quick overview in terms of editing. I'm just fully aware that we've only got an hour and a half, and I'm literally trying to put like 10 years into to squeeze it into an hour and a half. So that's one of the so editing for audio. Other programs that are available, if you do have Apple software, there's GarageBand that comes free with MacBooks and so on, iMacs. This Adobe Audition. So say, for example, you're a Photoshop user or you use any Adobe software, you can actually get a monthly subscription, and you can get a program called Adobe Audition. It's actually the industry standard for podcasters. So for example, if you want to go into a career in podcasting, then that's sometimes what they put on the job description, is that you must be able to use that. I use it, but I think that Hindenburg's such a fantastic program that if it's something that if I have to use it, I'll use it. So there's that. One thing that I will say quickly is about mastering. So it's a bit like music. So when someone first records a song and it's they've done it, they have to then master it so that the sound quality is as good as possible. And it's the same with podcasts. Mastering is very important. And when it comes to broadcasting in general, there's a thing called LUFS that you have to kind of abide by, an industry standard when it comes to the actual levels of audio. So LUFS is a loudness unit full scale, and it's I won't go too much into it, but for podcasting, the standard for mastering is -16 decibels. Now, there's a program and it's called Auphonic, which you can get 2 hours free per month to master your podcast, okay? I'm just going to share my screen again quickly and show you this program. So this is Auphonic, and this is just if you sign up, you get 2 hours per month. So say, for example, you were doing 4 half-hour podcasts, like you were doing a half-hour podcast each week. That's your 2 hours, so it's fantastic. All you need to do is you go to new production. You can just go to choose file, and I'm just gonna use our test. And you can then it will loudness target is -16. You can actually select noise and hum reduction if you really want to, and it's literally, you just need to press start production, and what will happen is that it will then do the mastering for you. I'm just going to wait. That's it, just processing at the moment. And the longer, obviously, the podcast is, the more time that it does take to master. And what will happen is that it will literally, so your whole podcast will hit, the maximum will be the -16 LUFS, and you just literally, you download it, and that is your mastered podcast. And it's a really, really handy program for people. If you are producing, I pay on a subscription because I'm doing quite a few podcasts each month, but it's still very, very reasonable in terms of cost. One of the things that I think is really important, especially the times that we're in and the times that we're kind of maybe reconsidering how we do things and the way that people are geographically positioned, is remote recording. And this is something that's super important for the way that we're recording. So we're on Zoom just now. Zoom is a way that you can do remote recording. Now, these are some of the tips that I would say to you to really take note of. Now, what you'll find is that when you go to, when you first set up your Zoom and you set up a meeting, in the settings, I'm going to share my screen again, and I'm going to show you what's really important. If you're unable to, can everyone see this settings panel? If someone can just say yeah.
Yes, I can, thanks.
Perfect, thank you. So this is your general. If you go to audio, you'll be able to see, so say if you've got your microphone plugged in, you just go in and select your microphone. If you've got speakers, I've got AirPods in, so wireless headphones, you just select and you'll be able to see it's working there. You can suppress background noise. I would say if you've got quite a lot happening in the background, you can select your, you know, for example, if I was to put that in, then it does make a difference to the audio. The most important thing is the recording panel. So when, say, for example, we're all on this meeting, we were all doing a podcast together, and I wanted us to record all of our different tracks. We do not want to have them all recorded on one single track, because editing that is a nightmare. I'm quite loud in terms of my vocal. There might be someone that's quite quiet. And what we want to do is to make sure that everyone has got their single track, so that when it comes to editing, it just makes things so much easier. So it's this option, record a separate audio file for each participant. You have to make sure that that is selected. When you're recording, you also want to select the destination of where you want to record your files. So what happens is that when you hit record on your meeting, you do your remote recording, you interview whoever you want to interview, or you're hosting with whoever you want to host with. And what happens is that at the end of your meeting, you hit stop, and then it generates your recorded files, and then a folder will open. And what will happen is that I'm just going to see if I've actually got a folder. that has got a Zoom recording in it. Let me just go to, I don't think I do, unfortunately. Oh, documents, maybe I do. Oh, Zoom, here. So what happens is, I'm just going to see if that, I don't think I've got one, but basically what happens is a folder will generate and it will say audio files, and then it will give you, I'm just going to stop sharing, it will give you a separate file for each of your participants. And that means that when it comes to editing, you can put everyone on a separate track. And it's just so much easier for editing. Another program that I would highly recommend is called Zencastr. And I'm going to share that with you as well. And this is, I've been using this probably for the last couple of years for recording. One of the things that I do think, I record a mental health podcast, and it's quite, I obviously have to be quite responsive to the people that I'm recording with. I think it's easier sometimes for people when they don't have the visual, they just get to speak and they don't see anything. And I know you can turn your video off with Zoom. With Zencastr, I find the audio quality far better for remote recording, and that's why I'm recommending it. You can set up a free account and you can record remotely. So I'm just going to share my screen and show you Zencastr. So this is, I'm going to just go to the actual website so that you can see what the front page is like. So this is the front page, and you can do video or you can just record audio, and you just sign up for, you can sign up for a free account. I've got a paid account. It's just purely because I can record in WAV, and that's just, it's just purely because of the sound quality. But I will say that the MP3 on the free account, the recording quality is still fantastic. So what you can do is you go to create a new episode. You can either record audio and video, record audio only, or so audio only and show video, or you can record audio only. For the purposes of this, I'm just going to show you the audio only, because I think it's just good to see it like it is. So this is the dashboard, and you can see that this wave is moving. And what you do is you invite your participants. So you can invite your guests, and you can just put their name in and their email address, or you can copy the invite link in and put it in an email. And what happens is they start to line up down here. You literally, you hit record and you'll get like a little prompt, and then you'll start to see the audio recording as it comes in, and whoever's underneath you, so no matter how many participants, they'll come underneath and you'll see their audio files as well. So you hit stop once you finish recording, and it will basically, you can download the MP3. You hit this. I'm just going to, I'm now sorry, I should have, let's just decline that. I knew that was going to happen. So you hit, and that's I've downloaded the MP3, and then that's my audio from my remote recording. But if you are worried and you think, oh, you know, I've not downloaded it, everything will store on your dashboard. So as you can see, I've done a lot of recording on here, but everything will store so that you can go back to it and you're able to just download your files, okay? Zencastr is fantastic. Again, I'm not endorsed by them, but it's just, I really thoroughly recommend it as a program for recording, okay? Right, so that's your remote interviews. Make sure that what I tend to, I'll give you a template of what I send to guests in terms of recommendations. And it's pretty much what I've said to you, is make sure that they're in a quiet place, you'd be amazed how many people still will record with lots of things happening, or various noises, and it's crazy. If they can use headphones, it really is very it's great for improving sound quality. If they can sit amongst soft furnishings, or if they can sit somewhere that's like less echoey, and so on. But I'll send you a template that I send out to people. Right, so next, I guess, so you've, say for example, you've recorded, you've started editing. I guess, yeah, one of the things is music. A lot of people ask me this. They say, what music can I use? You can't just choose what music you want from the internet. You'll get sued. I'll just put it as simply as that. Licensing is a big thing, and it's incredible how much trouble I've seen people get into. I'm just going to give you some examples. So there's a thing called Free Music Archive. Okay, and I'll include this link in, and there's so much music on there. And as long as you credit the person within your podcasting notes and your podcast itself, and you credit them at the end when you're talking about your podcast, you can use that music. Okay, and there's it's got so many genres on there. Again, I'll include the link in the material I send over. But it's fantastic, and there's some really great music that you can use as a kind of jingles or soundtracking, whatever. Another thing I'm just going to, so for free sound effects, there's free sound, and what you can do is you can use anything off there, and you don't need to credit it, and you can get things like crowd noises from football matches. You can get footsteps. You can get like literally anything you can think of in terms of sound effects, and it's fantastic. So say for example you were doing an audio drama, or you were doing a walking tour, or yeah, anything like that. It's really great for providing sound effects. So I'll send a link over for that as well once we're done. The other thing, let me just go through and make sure. So I guess publishing your podcast is where to get it onto your platforms. How to get it on Spotify, how to get it onto Apple Podcasts, Google, all those kind of things. There's different programs that you can use. So I use Acast for one of my podcasts. I think they're a fantastic platform. It is subscription, but there's ones that are free. So there's Anchor. Anchor is part of Spotify, and I'm going to actually show you Anchor. Anchor is really very good, I have to say, and it is completely free. I produced a series for Glasgow Short Film Festival. I did 11 episodes for them, and I'm just going to show you the back end just here. So the dashboard, let's just go to, so I'll actually show you Anchor's front page. It's anchor.fm is the, I'll log out actually. So this is Anchor, this is the front page. You just go to get started and you're able to go ahead. Now, if we go to new episode, so this is what you'll be faced with when you first log in. You can actually, pretty much like Audacity, you can hit record and you can record your audio into there. Library is any audio that you've uploaded. Music, add songs from Spotify to your episode. You can use music from Spotify, but the one thing I would say to you is that your podcast will only remain on Spotify. It will not go to other platforms if you use music from Spotify because of the licensing aspects. Messages. this is a pretty cool feature. I am going to just show you what this does. This is quite good for interactive aspects. So this is the front page of this podcast. What your listeners can do is they can go to message and they can record a question or give you a soundbite to include in any future episodes that you want to use. It's quite a great, it's a cool thing if you want to kind of interact with your audience a bit more. Transitions. So this is little sound effects that you can use, and they've got lots of free ones in there. So again, that's a resource that you can use. If you are actually if you've produced and edited your podcast and you don't want to use any of their features, you can just drag your episode into here and it will upload. So I'm going to show you an episode. Let me go to episodes and we'll go to this first one. So once you've uploaded your podcast, you will come to this screen. So just obviously pretend that this is not in here. So you put in your episode title. You then put in your description. So this is your show notes. So what I would say is to try and keep it quite brief. Link to any a website if you do have one, and any information that you want to put in. Your publish date. Now, what you can do is you can actually schedule your podcast, or you can publish it like now. You can if you were to like if you were uploading it, as I say for example, you've done your podcast and you're putting it out tomorrow, or you're putting it out today, you just select now. Season. So again, this is if you're doing a season of podcasts, episode numbers, this is really important. And I would say to definitely use this. You don't necessarily have to use season, but I would definitely number your episodes. Episode type. So if you're doing a full podcast, a trailer. So if you're doing a trailer, say 1 to 2 minutes to advertise your podcast, then that is, I would definitely recommend that as well. If you're starting a podcast, I would keep it to under 5 minutes. 5 minutes would be your maximum, and that's a standard across the industry. Bonus episodes. Say, for example, that you've started a Patreon or something that's paid, and you want to give people bonus material, then that is a feature, or if you just want to feel generous, that's something that you can do. Clean and explicit. If you've got any swearing, if you've got anything that you feel is potentially needs a warning, then anything with swearing you have to declare. I have seen podcasts being taken down because they haven't declared that there's any swearing in there. What will happen is, instead of update, it will have publish, and your podcast will then be listed. It will come up here, and you'll then be able to kind of see all your episodes up and down here. Okay, and then you'll be able to. What will happen is Anchor will then distribute to Apple Podcasts, Google, Overcast, all these platforms on your behalf. You don't have to do those individually. The other thing is that you will be able to have this, you'll be able to select what your, I'm just going to go to dashboard. Let me have a look. Settings, update settings. Yeah. Another thing that you'll be asked to do within Anchor is to put your podcast name, your description, your cover art, your category. It's really important that you select your category as well as to what kind of podcast it is. Your name, your email, any website that you've got in there, and you can connect your social media as well. Okay. And then that means that when it comes to this page, this is how it's all set out. Your social media icons will come here. Another good thing about these, the streaming here, is that you can actually go to share and you can embed the player. So if you've got a website, if you're starting a website, you can embed the player so people can share, they can play straight away on the website. Sorry, I know that that's a lot of information. So that's Anchor. Another really good platform is Buzzsprout. Buzzsprout give you about 2 hours free a month, and Buzzsprout give you emails. They'll send out a mailer every so often, and they give fantastic advice and tutorials for podcasting. They also do workshops and all that kind of stuff, and they're a really great platform. So I would highly recommend them. One of the things that I would say in terms of trailers, I know I've touched on it briefly there. One of the things is that with the trailer, I'm just going to show you Spotify and how it appears on here. So this is a mental health podcast I do. So you'll be able to see all the episodes. Sometimes you just want a taster of what the podcasts are before actually delving in. And here, this is how the trailer, I've got a 1 minute, 22 second trailer. I pretty much cut together some sound bites from some of the interviews, some different interviews, just some quotes with me explaining what the podcast was and a bit of music. And it literally means that people can just go on, they can hit play and go, yeah, that might be for me, or that might not be for me. And then they can kind of get a taster of what your podcast is about. So I think that that's a really important thing to do. Okay. So we've gone through that. Artwork. We've got 15 minutes and I've still got to tell you. So artwork, what I would say to you, so you need, your artwork dimensions need to be 3,000 pixels by 3,000 pixels. That's your standard size. And a fantastic program. Has anyone heard of Canva? Okay, you will, yeah. So for those that haven't heard of Canva, I'm a Photoshop user, but sometimes there's a lot of people will attest to that Canva's probably made us a lot lazier. So that's something that is not, it's a blessing and a curse, let me tell you. So canva.com is C-A-N-V-A. I'm going to share my screen. So this is Canva. Canva is, this is the back end. When you go to create a design, this is fantastic for if you're sharing your podcast on social media, and you will be able to get all your different sizes of artwork on here. So you can actually create a custom size. So I'm going to put in, so 3,000 by 3,000 pixels. So you've got inches, millimeters, centimeters, and pixels. And they've actually, you'll see there, they've got podcast cover as well. So that's handy. You can search for templates on here. So I could actually just search for podcast and it gives you some ones that they've already done. But you can make your own podcast. So let's just go to background. Let's just select this. I'm literally going to do 1 and 2 minutes for you. Elements, I wonder if I'm going to do stove. Let's select this. And we can go to text and we can add heading. And let's put in, if we can, the stove podcast, and we can change our fonts, everything like that. Literally, this thing is crazy. Let's just, this is like 2 seconds. And you could literally create your artwork within 2 minutes on there. So that's a really handy tool. If you want to perhaps advertise on different aspects of social media, I'm going to go to home, and I'm going to show you the BBC one that I'm working on. So this is the podcast that I'm working on for the BBC. It's called Word Up. This is the Twitter dimensions. So say I want to advertise this on Twitter, then this image is the size. It's really important to understand when it comes to socials that you've got different image dimensions. So for Instagram, you've got square. For your Twitter, you've got banner. For Facebook, it's a different size, Instagram stories, and so on. And what I do is we create different, for our guests, we create these graphics for our guests. We send them to our guests and we ask them to post them on their socials. And it just means that you're driving more traffic into your podcast. Another thing that you can do is create what's called an audiogram. Actually, I'm going to stop sharing because I know I'm going through this at warp speed now. Has anyone got any questions so far? Oh, I've got broke for free, loads of pods yet. We use Buzzsprout. Yeah, cool. Okay. So audiograms are super like fantastic for generating like traffic for your podcast. And I'm just going to go to Twitter just now. If I can. Hopefully I've not got anything that's horrendous in terms of timelines. So let's go to okay, so media. So this is an audiogram. It's when you've got a sample of your podcast, speaking a speech, and then you've captioned it at the bottom, and you might use your artwork, you might use, there's lots of things that you might use. Big, like, let me have a look. So this, another one here. Let's go to media. And yeah, so, and there's another example here. You've got the audio wave, and then you've got the speech. So one of the programs, there's one called Headliner, which Headliner is fantastic. It's free, and I use this one called Wave. And what you can do, you log in. And I'm just going to create one basically just to show you how easy it is. So you can either choose a template or you can start from scratch. This is where your Canva comes into handy, or if you're a Photoshop user, Adobe Illustrator, whatever. So say for example, we're creating it for Twitter. We go to choose horizontal. We go to select image, and say that you've got your artwork already like you've already created it. And I'm gonna see if I can, hopefully this will open. It might take a minute or two. So what happens is that the artwork will appear here. Right, there we go. And what you can then do is, oh no, we don't want to do that. Go to waveform, and you've got all different, Headliners the same, you've got much of the same waveforms that are here. And say for example, you want to be more inventive with your, you can either put your waveform at the bottom, or you can put it across or up here or in a circle or whatever. You hit save, and a Headliner again is much the same process, and this will generate, and then you upload your audio. So I'm going to upload just the test that's on our desktop. This will come up here, and then all you need to do is generate video. And then that will generate your basic audiogram. So your audiogram here is, and once it, let's just wait for it to, so once it generates, that's the one without the captions. But we know now in terms of accessibility how important captions are. So once this generates, which is, I'm just where I think there's a question up here. Sorry, oh, sorry, Bayan. Thank you very much for coming. This might take just a minute or so. If you're producing something that's really quite long in terms of an audiogram, it can take a bit longer. Hopefully it will be by tomorrow. I'm just going to see if there's someone I can find that, let me just have a look. Right, okay, so let's go for this one. This is an Instagram one, but let's go to edit captions. So this is what will happen is that the audio, it will generate what it thinks is what the person has said, but you will probably, especially for Scottish accents, let me tell you, go in and have to edit in here. And what will happen is that it will then, you'll be able to position and style the captions as you want to in here. If you're using Wave, you can go to style captions. You can choose what your font is, your text size, the color, if you want a background on the text, where you want your or the caption to be, and so on. So what happens is it will then generate you'll be able to download this and upload it to any part of social media in terms of an audiogram. So that is that. I guess one of the other things that I wanted to say is if you're wanting to generate more press for your podcast, my other job is PR and marketing, so it's something that I've kind of experimented with as well. I think it's really important that you kind of try and create conversation around your podcast. So say, for example, if you are talking about a certain subject, is if there's a news article that's topical, then is perhaps link it in with your podcast. You know, for example, have you seen this article? We've produced a podcast that touches on this. If there's a group of people related to any subject matters, then make sure that you are, you know, like if there's a community group, or if you think that your podcast may help someone, if it touches on certain subjects, then I would just be bold and send your podcast out. If your podcast, if you think it's press worthy, I would by all means get in contact with papers, magazines, blogs, whatever, and say, particularly organizations that are, so I do a mental health podcast. I sent my mental health podcast, I sent it to Mental Health Foundation, to Sam H, and they were really great and shared it out, and they shared it out amongst their communities and in their newsletters as well. So yeah, be pretty bold about what you do.